As a person, I can definitely say there really isn't much out there that scares me, though there are several things that fall into the creepy category for me. Ironically enough, they derive from the thing I love the most, Thomas the Tank Engine. The three biggest things on that list would consist of the cancelled Blur Studios Lego movie concept art of Thomas the Tank Engine, Lady's prototype face. I know, very ironic that the creator of Warped Archives can find something uncanny. And last but not least, the Thomas and Friends Institute of Innovation. The Thomas and Friends Institute of Innovation was a short movie film created to promote branding of the Thomas and Friends name in a very weird way. Unfortunately, this movie was never released to the public and was only shown at private screens, but there are leaked screenshots and footage of it confirming its existence, and it left more questions than answers. It wasn't what we knew about the project that rose many questions, it was what we didn't know, what made it so elusive, that attracted many people to this. And the leaked screenshots that we initially had really didn't make any sense. How can Thomas survive an apocalypse? What happened? What's with these potions? Who's this man running? Why does Thomas look so scared, like he's seen something traumatic? Knowing that this weird, eerie Thomas and Friends project is out there really made me want to go out on a deep dive to learn more about this. And that's what I set out to do today. I'm Duck, aka Troublesome Junction, and welcome to the second episode of the Milk Tank. And we're going to be taking a deep dive analysis and answering questions on the Thomas and Friends Institute of Innovation. The first place that I looked for more information was on the Thomas and Friends Wikia, and it turns out that this film was produced between 2013 and 2014 under Studio Hansa. Studio Hansa specializes in making live-action and CGI animated films, and in 2013 they were hired by Hit Entertainment to make a promotional Thomas and Friends video. In the footage that we have, we can see two men in white lab coats running miscellaneous experiments. Despite the clips being to promote Thomas and Friends, from what we see from them, only one of them really shows footage of anything Thomas related. In the first clip, the only hints of Thomas and Friends is the intro where it shows a sign that says Institute of Innovation, and towards the end you can hear the sounds of quiet puffing in the distance, and then of course the Thomas and Friends logo. The next clip though is the more interesting of the two. A man in a white lab coat is comparing Thomas to a cockroach and explaining that these are the only two surviving species if we ever were to have an apocalypse. The next clip shows that an apocalypse has taken place. As a cockroach is running along the ground, it gets startled by an alien hand playing with Thomas the Tank Engine. Then the narrator explains that perhaps the aliens and the next life forms will find interest in the little blue tank engine. And then that's it. Those two clips, along with the miscellaneous screenshots, really intrigued a lot of people that wanted to just know more about this. It was unlike any other Thomas project that we had seen prior. But all of that would change on January 10th of 2020. On the official Studio Hansa Instagram account, they had posted pictures of the Thomas and Friends collaboration as a throwback to it. And on those posts it included a handful of screenshots that you couldn't find anywhere else, and a lot of these really did paint a picture of what it was actually about, and the events that took place in the film. A lot of the new screenshots also answered a lot of the questions, like for example the Running Man. We now know that this is the Fat Controller on steroids. Man, try and get the mental image of a buff Fat Controller out of your head now. And if you go to Studio Hansa's website, you'll find a section dedicated to the Thomas and Friends project. It gives a little bit of background and insight to how it was making it, as well as a little bit more background of the film itself. With a lot more screenshots to go off of and a little bit more info on our belt, let's try and piece together what this film was really about. So as we know from the footage, we know that there are two men in lab coats who are doing some kind of experimentation on something Thomas related. We can also tell that in some elements and some screenshots it has a very comedic type of tone. And if you look at this screenshot from the website here, it talks about how the purpose was to listen to the things that people have been kind of clamoring about in ways to make Thomas better. Innovate him, if you will. This would explain why in the clips and the screenshots that it looks like they're doing a heavy and thorough analysis on Thomas and his friends. This would also explain the screenshots of why, for example, Thomas has wings or a not so fat controller, or why I assume this is Gordon having massive lips. Maybe they were trying to go for that handsome Squidward look or something. This all makes sense because from a lot of the designs of the characters and such, it'd be something like of what a kid would suggest. Oh, I want to see Thomas fly. I want to see the fat controller not be fat. I want to see muscular face Gordon. I don't think anyone asked for that one, okay? Now you're probably asking yourself, well, Duck, what about all the stuff in the screenshots? The weird potion thingies, or the giant horn, or this weird pink contraption thingy. An easy way to sum all of it up is it's very reminiscent of the baby bottle pop "we take silliness very seriously" commercials. It takes over-the-top, over-exaggerated experiments for comedic effect just for the sake of emphasis on experimentation. Now that we've pieced together a lot of the story elements and given context to a lot of the weird nitty-gritty stuff, let's try and piece together some of the story elements that play into this. First, let's go through all those pictures of Percy. Now, in all these pictures, it's clearly Percy's x-rays and diagrams, and them making lots of dotted lines on Percy's face in the same vein that you would do that for someone who's about to withdraw some surgery. Lo and behold, on the Instagram page, pictures that were revealed were the two men in lab coats, in scrubs, and having masks on. And if you look at the picture where they're looking at the diagram of Percy's face, if you look near the bald guy's head, you see a sign next to it that says Area 2 Genetic ADV. Now what do I think this stands for? Genetic Advantages. As said in the second clip, it said that Thomas characters can survive the apocalypse along with cockroaches, and from all of the pictures showing that they're examining Percy on a diagram and his x-rays, it's very apparent that they're trying to figure out the ins and outs of these engines and just how they work, just how they were able to survive but humans weren't, possibly trying to reverse engineer their genetics to be compatible with humans so we could also survive the apocalypse. Though the last part might definitely be a bit of a stretch, it's no denying the fact that they're clearly trying to study these guys and figure out how they work. Next one we're going to talk about is the giant horn. Now this image I would probably say is the most confusing out of all of the ones that were initially leaked. Most people were saying, well, how does a giant horn relate to Thomas the Tank Engine? Though I'm unsure of how it's related, there's definitely enough screenshots from then and now to figure out what is going on in this scene. Take notice of the man who's standing on the end of the horn, and if you refer to the pictures that were leaked on the Instagram page, there are several pictures of the same man in that same helmet with goggles on, standing next to a horn or being blasted in the face by what looks like a lot of wind. So we can definitely come to the conclusion that they're comparing the sound effects of a normal horn versus a giant horn. Perhaps they're trying to use this to maybe symbolize Thomas's whistle, or maybe one of the Diesel's horns. Maybe someone wanted it to be louder. Who knows? Now this one I'll be sure to go through pretty quickly. It is the Fat Controller, aka the Running Man, as we already touched upon it earlier, and pretty much it's the Fat Controller, emphasis on him, being fat. And these screenshots kind of put together the fact that they're just trying to make him more fit. They make him fit by running on a treadmill, pumping steroids into him, and boom, you have this nightmare fuel moving on. Now the next thing is the thing that I wanted answered the most, but sadly it still remains inconclusive. Why does Thomas look so scared? Now, we just don't have anything to go off of for this. It could potentially be one of the experiments with the employees had went wrong with one of them and he's just reacting to it, or maybe there's something more to it. Maybe they continued on with the apocalypse theme and Thomas is seeing the world around him crumble. We don't know. We don't know. So boys and girls, that concludes my deep dive analysis into the Thomas & Friends Institute of Innovation. I'm really happy with my findings and I'm glad I could be the first person to do a proper deep dive analysis into this. Who knows, maybe later down the line more information could come out about it, or even the full thing could be released so we can get those burning questions that I myself couldn't find answers to. But in the meantime, I'm really happy with what I found, and though yes, it is kind of an eerie sort of weird project, I've grown more fond of it, and it's also something to see as a nice contrast to the Thomas universe. Rest assured, I believe Thomas is safe and in good hands. Right?